Quitting your job to start your own business can give you the time and financial freedom to live your best life if it's done right. But if you do it wrong, it can leave you in financial ruin that can take you years to recover from. Thankfully, quitting your job entirely or staying in a career that makes you miserable aren't your only options. You can choose to reduce the number of hours you work to invest in your business. But how do you decide whether it's best to divide your time or go all in? It's a difficult choice for many people, and there's no one-size-fits-all answer for everyone. And that's why in this video, we're going to cover off the key factors that will determine if quitting altogether or reducing your hours is the best way to get your business off the ground. Now, I love seeing people with the determination to start their own businesses. You guys have the spark that not many people do. And if you're watching this video, it means you're smart and cautious enough to make this new business work. So let's get stuck in. But before we look at whether you should quit or reduce your work hours, there are a few factors we need to look at, which is pretty much going to determine how we proceed with your new business. You might think that the first and most important factor is your finances. And while it's pretty important, there's actually one other factor that's even more important than your finances. And that's finding out if you actually want to start your own business or if you just need a career change. Guys, this is really important, and I see this happen all the time. People have this great idea for a business that's entirely outside of what they currently do, and they commit everything to pursuing it, only to realize that they hate it 6 months down the line. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting a career change. Most people have a dramatic change in their career at some point in their life, me included. But not everyone who wants a career shift needs to start a business. Sometimes, just getting into a new job in a completely different industry is enough for some people to get out of that rut. Some of them will even go on to forge excellent careers in the new industry, but some of them will just return to a similar job that they were working before. And to be honest, both options are totally fine. Sometimes a change of scenery is all you need. But if you quit your job to start a new business, you're not just getting a change of scenery, you're completely changing your life. You need to be completely and 100% sure of what you want. If you want to get out of a rut and try something new, get a job in a different industry. But if you have an inner fire that won't go out and you really want to be your own boss and take your working life into your own hands, that's when you start your own business. So it's essential to know the difference and know exactly what it is you want. Now, obviously, the next big thing you need to consider is your finances. And guys, we're not just talking about having money saved up, although that's important too. You really need to factor how much money you're going to need in the next few years. New businesses sometimes take years to generate enough revenue for their owners to make a meaningful profit. Do you have enough savings to keep you afloat for several years? And that's not just keeping rent and mortgage paid, that's food, utilities, school fees for family, and emergency fund. All that comes before even looking at the money you need to start and maintain your new business. You seriously need to look at your books with an accountant or a financial advisor to see if it's advised or even possible to quit your day job to build a business, or if splitting time and reducing your hours is the best course of action. While we're talking about finances, let's talk about current and ongoing debt. If you're going to start a business, you're going to want as little as possible going in. Now, obviously, completely paying off all your debt is going to be hard or even impossible before starting your business. In fact, debt and poor pay from your existing job might be one of the key motivators for starting your own business. But like we've discussed so far, your business might take some time for you to make enough money to make contributions to your ongoing debt. Now, clearly, debt isn't some set in stone concept, and while you're going to have to pay off those debts eventually, some debt is more urgent than others. All I ask is, are you in a financial position where you're going to be able to keep yourself and your new business afloat while maintaining your debts? And that's why speaking to a financial advisor or accountant is so important. You guys spend all day watching videos like these, and the more you do, the more you learn. In fact, people like me and Gary Vee have heaps of videos that are going on about real useful advice that is researched and based on real stories and real results. But at the end of the day, we don't have access to your finances, and we don't know enough about your situation. Even though I make these videos purely to help you guys out and respond to my comments and emails about business topics, every person's situation is unique. That's why at the end of the day, after you've done learning and doing your research, you need to sit down and speak to someone who can look at your books, your job, and your personal situation to give you some advice specific for your circumstances. Because your financial situation and whether you can feasibly quit your job to start a new business affects more than just you. It affects any dependents you may have. So you might be thinking that if I don't have any kids, you don't have any dependents, right? Well, there's a little more to it than that. Basically, you need to consider anyone that benefits or relies on you for outgoing money you earn. This can be a partner or a roommate you live with, family members you help out, or even pets. The absolute last thing you want to be is in a position where you're choosing between someone eating and your business. Now, that doesn't mean you can't start a business if you have any dependents. But when you're putting together your business plan, it's something you need to budget for and factor in. Let's pivot for a minute and discuss whether you can actually reduce your hours to start your business and if that's going to give you enough time to do both properly. Depending on the job you have and the business you want to start, it might be totally feasible for you to put both on your plate and balance the workload perfectly. But for others, you're going to struggle to commit to both, giving both the attention and focus they need and deserve. This can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. If you're in the position to quit your job, your finances look good, your business plan looks solid, it can give you the fire you need to quit your job and give your full attention to your business you're starting. But if both your current job and your new business are going to require all of your time and attention, and the optics don't look that good right now, it means it's probably in your best interest not to half-ass both. My advice would be to work and save for a bit longer before you commit to a new business properly. And I know hearing that sucks, but the reality of the situation is, sometimes you just can't juggle both. And while I can give you a push to burn the boats and start your business, it can also be a huge warning sign that it's not the right time to quit or split your time. Of course, something you need to consider is if you even really need to quit your job. Everyone in this space is very pro side hustling, and for good reason. Starting your new business as a side hustle is a great way to split the difference and give your business a running start and a strong chance of survival without cutting off your only revenue stream. Of course, the allure of quitting your job is there. I get it. But at the end of the day, sometimes side hustling is objectively the right option. Now, there are so many factors that are going to affect this, like your personal life, dependence, finance, and the industry you're starting a business in. But I would really recommend sitting down and considering if you want to quit your job straight away because you're sick of it or because it's best for your business. And that's one thing I can't answer for you. But my advice is to be smart about it and not get caught up in the excitement of handing that letter of resignation in. How you utilize your time is crucial, especially if you have new skills you need to learn to really commit to your new business. If you're starting a new business in the same industry you currently work in, it's going to be a lot easier to drop your job completely and start your own business than if you have to learn a whole bunch of new skills. Restaurants are a great example of this because not only are they very risky, but there's a heap of TV shows about people trying and failing to get into the restaurant game. And one of the most common trends you see in failing restaurants is owners that had to make a hard switch to the food industry from something completely different. Skills aren't as universal as you think. If you're switching industries with your new business, reducing your hours to learn valuable skills and getting certifications and training will be vital to your success. Finally, let's talk about the one thing no one wants to hear about, the backup plan. If you're researching starting your own business and quitting your job, any video, course, or lecture that doesn't tell you to consider a backup plan is completely irresponsible. And I sort of get it. The idea that a backup plan is actually a crutch, and you've got to burn the boats to commit completely to your new business. But at the end of the day, the cold hard truth is that not all businesses succeed. In fact, something like 2/3 of all restaurants don't hit their first anniversary. And really, that just goes to show that you can have all the planning and prep in the world. But if the market turns or we hit a recession or the market research was a bit off, and you're not hitting the numbers you need to hit, you need a backup plan. Now, there's obviously a lot of ways you can look at a backup plan. It could be selling off or leveraging assets, returning to work part or full time, or shutting the doors completely. But what's important is to consider that it's a real possibility and you know what you're going to do if it comes down to it. especially if you have dependents. Something tying into those last few points about backup plans and whether you need to reduce your hours is if your industry will actually allow you to reduce your hours. Let's say you're an electrician trying to start your own business and be your own boss. More than likely, reducing your hours isn't going to be an issue. But depending on your industry, especially if you're higher up the food chain, you might not have the option to reduce your hours. It's just another thing worth considering when making your decisions. The truth of the matter is some jobs aren't going to let you cut down your hours, and some aren't going to want you back if you don't make it as a business owner. Remember that burning boats is sometimes the answer, but burning bridges is never the answer. So, when is it time to quit your job completely? I think if you've got a solid business plan, a stable financial situation, and a new business that demands your full attention, that's the right time to quit your job altogether. Knowing when to reduce your hours, though, is a little harder. If you know that your current job is going to allow you to cut back on your hours to work on your new business without affecting your quality of work in either job, side hustling for the time being is probably your best bet. And I think side hustling is a pretty universal option. While there are some situations where it's really one or the other, I think that most people will have the option to side hustle their business idea without compromising either. Of course, there's a third option, and that's getting back to the grind. And this sucks because you're here learning about it, and you're clearly smart and passionate enough to start your own business, but sometimes the timing isn't right. Look, if the economy isn't stable or your finances aren't rock solid and reducing hours isn't really an option, it might be best to put your idea on ice for a bit and grind your 9 to 5 a little longer. Again, I know this isn't what some of you want to hear, but it's better to work a safe 9 to 5 job for another 1 to 2 years and give your business idea a fighting chance than it is to gamble your business idea, your financial security, and your career progression if the timing isn't right. While there are heaps of stories about people taking risks and taking the plunge successfully, trust me when I say there are 100 times more stories out there of people losing it all. Now, obviously, these are just my thoughts and opinions as someone who not only started my own business, but spends time every day speaking to other people who have quit their 9 to 5 grind to start their business successfully. Whether you decide to reduce your hours or quit entirely, you've got every chance of succeeding as a business owner. There's just so many tools and resources out there. If you're smart, resourceful, and passionate enough, you will be successful. Speaking of resources, I've linked to a really good video right here about why millennials fail to build successful online businesses. And a lot of what I talk about there affects young people most, but it's a great resource for anyone wanting to start their own business, especially an online one. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck.